morning, everyone. This is Stephanie Judge with Rocky at Christ the King. Today, I wanted to share one of my favorite discipline methods that's designed to stop unwanted behavior in our kids. This would be things like whining and complaining, arguing, fighting with parents or siblings, making constant noise, which little kids tend to do a lot, badgering, or being obnoxious to others. One of our biggest jobs as parents is to control obnoxious behavior, certainly in public, but also for our own sanity and the well being of our families. And most importantly, to start to teach our kids self control for when they're responsible for their own behavior. And what I really like about this method is that it's designed to give kids control and let them decide for themselves how the situation turns out. This method is based on having consistent consequences so that way kids know what to expect and can decide how they want things to play out. I want to say at the outset that I'm not taking credit for this method. I didn't come up with it myself. This method comes from Dr. Tom Phelan, who is a child clinical psychologist, and his book, 1, 2, 3 Magic. It's a great method. It's one that I use at home with my own family, and we are happily reaping the great results of using this method. So, first of all, a little explanation about how kid brains are different than adult brains. Once kids start talking, they kind of sort of start to sound like adults. And so we often fall into this trap of thinking that kid brains are adult brains, but they're not. And they don't work the same. They're not as sophisticated. They don't have the same capacity for understanding that adults have. And so when it comes to discipline, a really common issue that a lot of parents have is getting into this trap of repeating ourselves and over explaining and trying to help our child understand why what they were doing is wrong, and that certainly has its place, but in most cases we really just need the behavior to stop, and simpler communication is better. And so this method, one of the hallmarks of this method, something that I love so much about it, is that it's really just very straightforward and designed to get the behavior to stop, without a lot of talk, without a lot of frustration, certainly no arguing. Um, and it's just a much more simpler, calmer, and effective method for discipline. Second, I want to just mention before I start describing how the method works is that this method is intended for what's called stop behaviors. So things that we want our kids to stop doing. And that's quite a bit different than the things we want our kids to start doing, like doing their homework or getting ready for bed or getting ready for school in the morning or ready to leave the house. And so this method really only applies to when our kids are doing something that they shouldn't be doing and something that we want them to stop doing. And so the basics of the method are it's a counting based method. And then when you reach the counting threshold, there's a consequence that applies. And so let's say your kid is hungry at dinner time, dinner's about to be on the table, and they're badgering you for yet another snack. And you say, nope, no more snacks. And then you immediately get but I'm starving. Don't you care about me? I'm so hungry. How could you not let me have a snack? And you just say, that's one. And then you give your kid about 5 to 10 seconds to decide whether they want to continue this behavior or whether they're going to stop. And so you get to the 5 or 10 seconds in your head, and if they're still going, you say, that's two. Um, Again, you can see that as I'm doing it here, there's no explanation. When you first count one, if you want to give it one short, brief explanation, that's fine. That's one. No more snacks until dinner time. Okay. But other than that, no explanation. So that's one. They keep going. That's two. Another 5 to 10 seconds. They keep going. That's three. Go take a break. And here, the standard sort of method is to take a break, which is to say go away and separate from the situation for a little while. This is a little bit different than a typical timeout in which we kind of send our kids off to think about what they've done wrong, and you sit there and think about it, and you come back when you're ready to behave nicely. This really isn't meant to be punitive in that sort of traditional timeout sense. It's really just to interrupt and stop the behavior. The recommendation is to go on a break for a minute per year of age. So 3 minutes for a 3-year-old, 4 minutes for a 4-year-old, 5 minutes for a 5-year-old, and so on. But of course, you can adjust as you feel is appropriate for your child. And then when the break time is done, the child can come back to being engaged in whatever they were doing, and all is forgotten. Right? So this is not the time to be getting into explanations of what did you learn? Why aren't you going to do this again? Did you understand why what you did is wrong? Just let it go. The behavior stopped, so it's over. If the kid starts the bad behavior again, you're back to counting. Most kids will catch on pretty quickly that they'd rather not deal with a million interruptions in their day and being sent off to take a break, rather than to, have to keep going. And so most kids, after, realizing that you're going to force them to take that break after the third count each time, will start complying with stopping their behavior after one or two. Um, Given that you're not doing a lot of explanation and a lot of talking, a lot of arguing, not getting drawn in when they argue back with you, especially after one or two, it gives you the opportunity to go through this whole sequence and to get the behavior to stop without getting all riled up. And that's my personally favorite thing about it, right? I don't want to be getting mad at my kids. And getting sucked into arguments. And so, just sticking purely with one, okay, that's two, that's three, go take a break, gives you as the parent the opportunity to stay calm and to also, as I said at the beginning, let the kid decide how they want this all to play out for them. Now, I'm sure you're probably thinking, yeah, this sounds great, but there's got to be challenges that come up, right? Like, what if the kid won't go to break time? What if they fight back with you? What if they refuse to go? What if they're, arguing in the break? The book 1, 2, 3 Magic addresses all of those issues and more. There's great troubleshooting for all of these things that come up with putting this method into practice. And so, if you like what you're hearing here and want to give it a shot, by all means, go ahead with just what you're hearing here. But then I would strongly encourage you to pick up a copy of the book. You can get it for about $10 on Amazon, and it's going to answer all those questions and more. It's also really just a joy to read. Dr. Phelan has such a great sense of humor. He himself is a parent and has been through all the things that we're all going through. And so reading through his book, I really had a sense of, I'm not alone. We're all kind of in it together. And the book also has a lot of information on what to do with start behaviors. So I had mentioned before that this method is really meant for stop behaviors and stuff we want our kids to not do. But the book then also has great details on, helping build motivation, and sort of self-starting for the stuff that we want our kids to be doing on a regular basis. Talks about routines and, reinforcement, and then, natural consequences for the things they're supposed to be doing when they don't get done. And so I really think this whole 1, 2, 3 Magic book is just such a valuable asset. If you have questions or want to reach out to us, we're always love to hear from parents in our parish, in our community. So please feel free to get in touch with us at any time, and more so even get the book. And if you want to read through it, we can certainly chat about it. Would love to hear from you. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.